Welcome back. In today's lecture on stiffness method, we are going to see a couple of frames problems. And as I have often said, that frames are as easy as beams to analyze. So there is no reason why we should skip frame problems and we should focus only upon continuous beams. Nothing like that. Frames are also very simple, as we have already seen in earlier methods and we will realize today also. So this is our first frame problem. Support A at the base of the column AB is fixed. For the beam BC, support C is a hinge support and joint B is a rigid joint. Obviously, because of this fixity and this hinge, it is a non-sway frame. Column AB is not transversely loaded. However, beam BC is loaded with UDL of intensity 10 kilonewtons per meter. Both the spans are 3 meters each. Stiffness method is a displacement method. So I note my first observation, degree of kinematic indeterminacy is 2. And then my unknown joint displacements are theta B and theta C, assuming anticlockwise to be positive. Both are presumably anticlockwise. I am assuming node 1 at B point and I am calling node 2 at C point. So that is what I am writing. D at 1, D1 is equal to theta B, D2 is equal to theta C, both are anticlockwise. Then what is the next step? We have to restrain all the joints and find out the moments corresponding to the unknown joint displacements developed due to transverse loads. Followed by, we have to release each joint one by one and apply unit positive rotation, means unit anti-clockwise rotation. As a first step, I am restraining all the joints. This is a schematic way of showing that the joint is restrained from any translation or rotation. This is anyway fixed, and this joint also we have restrained, and then I have shown the fixed end moments developed due to transverse loads on the span. MFAB, MFBA, these two are obviously going to be 0 as there is no loading, and then there is MFBC and MFCB. These of course will be non-zero, and those I have calculated here. MFBC is equal to WL squared by 12, that will come out to be 7.5, for W to be 10 and L to be 3, and that is equal to negative of MFCB, because this is clockwise, that is anti-clockwise, and M of AB, M of BA, both are zeros. So like in continuous beams, where we have 2-3 beams continuously arranged, we find fixed end moments by restraining all the joints. In the same way, instead of 2-3 beams, we have a column and a beam. Makes no difference in the steps of analysis. I restrain all the joints, I find fixed end moments. Then I try to define actions corresponding to the unknown joint displacement due to loads. That is what I am calling as ADL1. Now what is ADL1? My node 1 or my D1 is theta B. So action corresponding to theta B means moments corresponding to theta B at B points. So it is going to be this plus this. This is anyway 0. So directly this MFBC is my ADL1, which I am writing from here 7.5 kilonewton meter. Then I write ADL2, that is action corresponding to D2 due to loads in the restrained structure. So my D2 is here, that is my D2 is theta C, node 2 is here, action corresponding to that, that is the moment corresponding to that is MFCB. So directly I am writing ADL2 is equal to MFCB, that is clockwise 7.5 or negative 7.5 kilonewton meter. So that is my ADL1, ADL2. Next step, successively I will release joint B and followed by joint C, one release at a time. That means remaining all joints are restrained, only one joint at a time is released. So when I release this joint B only for rotation, I represent that diagram like this. Check. Because I want to give rotation, because I want to provide a facility of rotation, I have shown a small hinge here, and then I have shown unit rotation in member BA as well as member BC simultaneously. Understand this please, that joint B is a rigid joint, that is, it is some joint like this. If it's a rigid joint like this, and when I try to rotate the joint rotates as a whole. It never happens that only one portion, beam is rotated but column is not rotated, or beam is rotated through, let's say, 1 radian but column is rotated through half a radian. Something like that will never happen. It is one rigid joint, it will rotate as a whole. So when I give 1 radian unit rotation in the beam at B point, simultaneously there is 1 radian rotation in the column also at B point. So this is happening simultaneously. The joint is rotated through 1 radian anti-clockwise, positive. Corresponding moment is stiffness, because our rotation is unity. That stiffness is a stiffness at node 1 due to unit rotation at 1, so I am calling it S11. And I am calculating S11 as 4EI upon L1, that of column, plus 4EI upon L2, that of beam. Because when I try to rotate that joint, there will be resistance, or the stiffness contribution will come from both the members, beam as well as column. So it is this plus this, both are 3 and 3 each. So if I substitute, I get 2.67 EI. Then I express S21, that is this, stiffness at node 2 due to unit rotation at 1. Obviously this is going to be 2EI upon L2. L2 is the length of this beam, that is 3 meters. So that is what I am writing, 2EI upon L2 is equal to 0.67 EI. Then I think of next diagram, next drawing, that is here. This is already fixed. This also I am restraining, I am converting it into a fixed joint, and I am releasing this joint for unit rotation. I am imposing unit anti-clockwise rotation, that 1 radian rotation I have shown here, and then corresponding stiffness will be stiffness at node 2 due to unit rotation at 2, so it is called S22. How much will be S22? Obviously 4EI upon L2, so that is what I have written. S22 is 4EI upon L2 is 3 meters. So on substitution, 4 by 3 factor will be 1.33 EI. This stiffness, which is stiffness at node 1 due to unit rotation at node 2, is going to be S12. Obviously it is going to be 2 EI upon L2, and as we are very well aware, S21 and S12 will be same, that is 2 EI upon L2, that is 0.67 EI. So we have calculated all the parameters, we have taken all the steps cautiously, correctly, that is we restrained the joints, then I released one joint for rotation and enforced unit rotation, then I gave unit rotation to the second joint after releasing it for rotation, and all stiffnesses and ADL1, ADL2, etc. I have written carefully, I have calculated carefully. So the next step is expressing superposition, expressing equilibrium. Our fundamental concept, the very philosophy of this method is original configuration is equal to restrained configuration plus this configuration into theta b. plus this configuration into theta c. Why into theta b and into theta c? Because originally there are going to be theta b and theta c, but here we are giving 1. So it has to be multiplied to the scale of theta b and theta c. That's why this into theta b, this into theta c. So we simply have this is equal to this plus this into theta b plus this into theta c. That is my superposition equation, or because I am writing equation in terms of moments, end moments, I can call it equilibrium equation. So that is what we have written, equilibrium equations. There are going to be two equations written in a compact matrix form, and that we are writing as vector AD is equal to vector ADL plus matrix S into vector D, displacement vector. Substitution. AD means action corresponding to unknown joint displacements in original diagram. Unknown joint displacements are theta b and theta c. Corresponding action should be couple moments acting at B and C. But as we are observing in the given problem, there is no couple moment acting here. There is no couple moment acting here. So my AD1 and AD2 both are zeros. Then comes ADL1 and ADL2. As we have calculated already, ADL1 is positive 7.5, ADL2 negative 7.5. So those I have substituted, plus in all the stiffnesses there is EI factor which is common. So I have taken it outside. Inside it is 2.67, 0.67, 0.67, 1.33. These values we have derived carefully already. And then I have the displacement matrix or displacement vectors, 2 by 1 vector or 2 by 1 matrix. D1 and D2, D1 and D2 are respectively theta b and theta c. I solve this system of two equations, two algebraic equations as simultaneous equations. I get D1 is equal to theta b is equal to negative 4.82 upon EI, means clockwise, and D2 is equal to theta c 8.04 upon EI. Positive answer means this assumed anti-clockwise sense is correct. Once I have the displacements, I go ahead with slope deflection equations, which are nothing again but simple superposition equations. So I write m of AB is equal to fixed end moment contribution, far end rotation contribution. Near end rotation is not possible, sinking or sway is not given. So that I substitute for theta b, even this term is 0. Fixed end moment MFAB is 0. There is no load on the column. So I substitute, I get negative 3.21 kilonewton meter as end moment at A. MBA is equal to MFBA, fixed end moment contribution, near end rotation contribution 4EI upon L into theta b. No far end rotation possible, A joint is fixed. I substitute, I get negative 6.43 kilonewton meter end moment at B point. Then I go ahead with MBC, end moment for beam BC at B point, fixed end moment contribution, near end rotation contribution with respect to theta B, far end rotation contribution with respect to theta C. I substitute, I get 6.43 kilonewton meter. These two should be equal and opposite for equilibrium. So we have achieved that particular value or such values. Do calculate. Don't just copy what I am writing. Do calculate. See that you are getting these answers. And finally, M of CB, end moment CB, should be fixed end moment, near end rotation with respect to C, far end rotation with respect to B, and I substitute and I get nearly 0. Why am I saying nearly 0? There may be some approximation error, rounding of error. So if you get 0.01, negative 0.001, something like that, it is supposed to be 0 because this is the exterior hinge, and at exterior hinge end moment has to be 0. That's it. You have all the end moments. So in a superposition diagram, you will be easily able to draw bending moment diagram. You have to show end moment at A, end moment at B, end moment at C, and end moment at B for the beam portion. Show those end moments, superpose with that this particular moment created by UDL, which will be parabolic, and you will get your bending moment diagram by superposition. So this is our first problem on frames by stiffness method, and I am sure you must have realized that it is as simple as any continuous beam problem. So here is our second problem on frames, again a non-sway frame. Let's have a look at the frame. A, B, C and D is our frame. A is a fixed support, B is a rigid joint, C is an exterior roller, and D is an exterior hinge. Because of this fixity and this hinge, the frame is a non-sway frame. Each span AB, BC and BD is 4 meters. AB loaded with 20 kilonewtons per meter UDL. BC loaded with 40 kilonewtons downwards load acting mid-span. And BD loaded with 20 kilonewtons rightwards acting at mid-span. So we are supposed to analyze this frame using stiffness method or displacement method, as it is also called as. Great. So I write my first observation. Degree of kinematic indeterminacy is 3. What are our unknown joint displacements? There will be theta B, there could be theta C, there would be theta D. So we have 3 possible slopes, presumably anti-clockwise. So we are writing D1 is equal to theta B, D2 is equal to theta C, D3 is equal to theta D, and accordingly we have written 1, 2 and 3 as our nodes B, C and D. After this I go for fixed end movements, because our methodology is we first restrain joints and then successively give unit rotations. So that diagram I have shown here, all the joints have been restrained for any kind of translation or rotation. Span loads have been shown as they are given in original configuration, and I am showing MFAB, MFBA, MFBC, MFCB, MFBD and MFDB, the fixed end movements generated due to span loads. Standard results we have. For this I have WL squared by 12. For this I have PL upon 8. So I simply substitute, and those calculations, or rather those values, those answers I have shown here. MFAB 26.67 kilonewton meter, same as negative MFBA because this is clockwise. Similarly, MFBC will be anti-clockwise 20, MFCB will be clockwise 20, MFDB will be anti-clockwise 10, and MFBD will be clockwise 10 kilonewton meter. So those are my fixed end moments. Degrees of kinematic indeterminacy, D1, D2, D3, unknown joint displacements. With this we start calculating our parameters. So I start with ADL1. What is ADL1? Action corresponding to D1 because of loads on the span. So ADL1, my node 1 is B. So action corresponding to D1, that is at B, due to loads, it is going to be MFBA plus MFBC plus MFBD. Clockwise is negative, anti-clockwise is positive. Accordingly, I have written negative 26.67, this is clockwise, positive 20, this is anti-clockwise, and negative 10, this is again clockwise, so that I am getting negative 16.67 kilonewton meter ADL1. ADL2 action corresponding to D2 because of loads. Our D1, D2, D3 are rotations, slopes, angles. Corresponding action is only movements. So we are not concerned about end shears or force reactions, only movements. So I am writing ADL2. Now this is my node 2. So when I restrain that node, the only movement that appears here because of this load is MFCB. So that I am writing as clockwise 20 kilonewton meter. We have already calculated MFCB as negative 20. Finally, ADL3. ADL3 means action corresponding to D3 because of loads. 3 node is here. So it is this action that we are concerned with. It is anti-clockwise, so positive. MFDB we have calculated as 10 kilonewton meter. So I am writing ADL3 is equal to 10 kilonewton meter. So that is all ADL calculated. You realize that there are 3 unknown joint displacements. So we are going to have 3 equilibrium equations, or our stiffness matrix will be 3 by 3. Other vectors will be 3 by 1. Not just 2 but 3. Then I calculate stiffnesses. So for that what we are doing, successively when I say, I mean to say other joints are restrained, only one joint is released for rotation. So successively I am releasing joint B, then joint C, and then joint D, while the other joints remain fixed. So observe here, joint B rotates anti-clockwise through 1 radian. When joint B rotates, actually there is deformation in portion BA as well as BC as well as BD. And each portion undergoes a slope or a rotation of 1 radian because B joint rotates as a whole. Not just the beam portion or the column portion, but the entire joint is assumed to rotate. That's why you are observing unit rotation or unit slope shown in all the 3 parts, BA, BC, BD. This stiffness corresponding action will be S11. It is at 1 due to rotation at 1. This stiffness will be S21 at 2 due to rotation at 1. This stiffness will be S31 at 3 due to unit rotation at 1. So all those calculations I have shown. S11 contribution of AB, BC, BD, BA, BC and BD. That's why it is summation of 3 stiffnesses, and on substitution of L1, L2, L3 as 4 meters as per the original data, I will be getting 3 times EI. That is my S11. S21 will be same as S12. We are already aware that stiffness matrix is a symmetry matrix. S21, that means I am calculating this. This is going to be 2EI upon L2. So that is coming out to be 0.5 EI. We have done this often enough. So I am just touching upon it, not explaining much. S31. It is again going to be 2EI upon L3, and it will be same as S13. So that is what we are writing here. S31 is equal to S13 is equal to 2EI upon L3. I am just assuming L1 for AB, L2 for BC, L3 for BD. That's all. So it is 2EI upon L3, again giving me 0.5 EI. Then S22 means I restrain all other joints and give unit rotation at node 2. That is what is being shown here. So S22, stiffness at 2 due to unit rotation at 2, it is going to be 4EI upon L2. So that is what we have written here. 4 will cancel, giving me 1 times EI. S32, so please observe here, this is S12 which we have already written. S32 is going to be 0. Because whatever portion of movement is carried over here, it will be absorbed here. Nothing will go to this column, nothing will go into the other beam also. So S32 is going to be 0, and since we know S32 and S23, Sij is equal to Sji, symmetry matrix, so directly I am writing that is equal to 0. Later on you can check that it is indeed 0. Finally I am writing S33, that means I am releasing this joint for rotation, all other joints are restrained. I am giving unit anti-clockwise rotation, corresponding movement will be S33 at 3 due to rotation at 3. S33 will be 4EI upon L3, that calculation will be 4 by 4, cancelling each other, giving me 1 EI again. S13 we have already expressed, same as S31, and you can readily see that S23 same as S32 is 0. So S23 is 0. Great. So we have ADL1, we have stiffnesses, everything in place. Also, I am just enlisting AD1, AD2, AD3. What is AD1, AD2, AD3? It is action corresponding to D1, D2, D3 in original configuration, that is in original given problem. Now D1, D2, D3 are rotations. Action corresponding to these rotations will be couple movements, but clearly we are observing that in original problem at 1 node, 2 node or 3 node, no couple movement is applied. So AD1, AD2, AD3, each one is 0. So I am substituting AD1 equal to AD2 equal to AD3 equal to 0. So yes, all the parameters from equilibrium equation or superposition equation are in place. So I go for the equation vector AD is equal to vector ADL plus stiffness multiplied by displacement. Where from this equation is coming? It is superposition. Original given configuration is equal to restrained configuration plus this into theta B plus this into theta C plus this into theta D. That is our philosophy. So accordingly we have written this vector equation. Those who don't remember the basis of this, I request you to please go back to my introduction to stiffness method lecture and go through that lecture thoroughly. Step by step we have actually derived this particular equation, so that once you are thorough with it, once your understanding is clear, you can apply it confidently. So I substitute AD as AD1, AD2, AD3, that is all zeros as written here. Then ADL1, ADL2, ADL3, these we have already written carefully by referring to this particular diagram of the restrained structure. These three together are ADL1, this is ADL2, this is ADL3. So those I have substituted here, plus all stiffnesses have EI, common term. So EI has been taken outside and I have just written S11, S12, S13, S21, S22, S23, S31, S32, S33. We are very well aware of the matrix structure. So I am substituting from here, and finally in my D vector I have D1, D2, D3, that is unknown joint displacements theta B, theta C, theta D. These three simultaneous algebraic linear equations your calculator will directly solve for you, and it is giving me D1 is equal to theta B is equal to 4.668 over EI, D2 is equal to theta C is equal to 17.67 upon EI, and D3 is equal to theta D is equal to negative 12.34 upon EI. These two positive signs mean the rotations are indeed anti-clockwise as assumed. We have mentioned here that these are presumably anti-clockwise, so that guess was correct. This negative answer simply means that this rotation we assume anti-clockwise, we substituted positive, but it was clockwise, that's why we got a negative answer. Once I get D1, D2 and D3, that is I start with unknown joint displacements and I get answers for unknown joint displacements, I simply go ahead with slope deflection equations to find out end moments. So I have written m of AB is equal to fixed end moment plus far end rotation contribution. For AB, near end A is fixed, no rotation and no sinking, sway, nothing doing. So that directly substituting, I get 29 kilonewton meter. M of BA, fixed end moment, near end rotation contribution, negative 22 kilonewton meter. M of BC, fixed end moment, far end rotation, near end rotation, far end rotation, because when you look at BC, there is going to be theta B also and theta C also. So you are having both the contributions. Substitution gives me 33.5 kilonewton meter. M of CB, fixed end moment, near end rotation contribution, far end rotation contribution. This has to be 0 because this is an exterior roller joint. End moment has to be 0. You substitute, you will get 0. So that is a cross check that our work is correct. M of BD, fixed end moment, near end rotation, far end rotation, that is giving me negative 11.5 kilonewton meter. Another cross check. M of BA plus M of BC plus M of BD should be equal to 0, equilibrium of joint B. So you observe M of BC is 33.5, M of BA is negative 22 and M of BD is negative 11.5. Just add negative 22, negative 11.5 and positive 33.5, you are getting a 0. So yet another cross check that our equilibrium is perfectly satisfied. And finally, M of DB, fixed end moment, near end rotation contribution, far end rotation contribution. Again, this is an exterior hinge support. You should get a 0. You are getting a 0. Great. Once end moments are in place, go for superposition of end moments and span moments that we have done in slope deflection lectures or moment distribution lectures n number of times. So I am not repeating all that again. I am just more focused upon stiffness method, the technique. However, as a student, you please try to finish each and every problem till the last step, that is even drawing bending moment diagram, so that you will feel confident that you have understood, and at the time of exam you will be able to repeat it, you will be able to do it on your own. So this is yet another frames problems, non-sway frame problem on stiffness method, and in next lecture we will be seeing a sway frame by stiffness method. Thank you.